Since I am sure that many of you are at least as expert in PowerPoint as I am, what I'm going to do in this presentation is focus exclusively on those techniques that are most likely to be useful when you're creating online videos. So the topics we're going to cover first are the presenter interface, which turns out to be a very useful tool when you're creating online videos with a webcam so that you actually want to look at the camera while you're talking. Then we'll take a look at the ability to create templates. And I like to create a kind of a specialized template for online videos so I know exactly where to drop the picture when I am doing Camtasia production. And it saves me a lot of decision making and centering. Then finally, we'll take a look at some basics of animation because while I'm not a huge fan of animation when I'm doing a face-to-face presentation, it requires too much thought, it can actually be pretty useful when I am doing an online screencast because it's one less thing for me to worry about while I'm talking to my webcam. So what I'm going to do now is show you the presenter interface, which is particularly useful for when you are doing screen recordings. And once again, I'm recording on Snagit in order to um, capture what I'm doing in Camtasia. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Camtasia Recorder, and the ideal dimensions for Camtasia Recorder are usually about 1280 by 720, which you'll notice does not capture the whole screen, and that's fine. Now I have a PowerPoint presentation in the background. Ironically, it's the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be using for this presentation, which is kind of like looking at yourself in multiple mirrors. And I am now going to click to Slideshow. And in Slideshow, I have two monitors connected up. And what that means is I am allowed to see both presenter view and the regular view. And the regular view is on the second monitor, which just shows the full screen. Now, what I'm interested in is the presenter interface. And what the presenter interface does, it has a number of different areas. It has the area where it actually shows the presentation. It has some controls on the side, which makes it a little easier to be a presenter. It has a time chart, which tells you how long the presentation has been running. And then over here, it shows you what will be on the next slide, which is something that can be very, very useful, especially if you're building in animations. And what I typically do is I typically put my webcam so that it is directly over the next slide. I'll just turn on the webcam so that you can see that. Uh, and that way, when I'm looking at the next slide, it looks a little bit like I'm looking at the webcam, and I don't have that shifty look that I get when I'm looking at the screen. Now, I don't want to do this recording with the webcam on, so I am going to turn it off so that we're not recording the webcam. Now, how does the presenter view work? Well, normally, as I say, I will have the webcam on, and then you're going to record this area of the screen. Now, if you'll notice, the brighten recording area does not fit this area of the screen. There are two things you can do. One, you can actually change the size of the area of the screen. And then two, you can actually move the Camtasia recording area. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the Camtasia recording area. And right now the screen's a little bit large, so what I will do is I will adjust the PowerPoint so that it fits just, more or less perfectly. And now what will happen is I will be recording what would appear on the screen, but I'm recording it in this ideal, 1280 by 720 dimensions. Now, if I go through my presentation, I can just leave my mouse here. I can watch the presenter next slide interface, and I can produce a much smoother presentation. So I'm going to click for the next slide, then I will click again, and it will tell me what topics I am going to be covering each time, and it will also tell me when I'm at my last slide as I am now. So that is the basics of the presenter interface, and I have found it to be incredibly useful when I'm doing screen recordings, and that's what I encourage people to use it for. So there's no particular reason that you have to do your own template for PowerPoint uh, video recordings. However, sometimes it's convenient to set yourself up with a template that you're comfortable with and that allows you to do things like move pictures into videos very easily. And what I'm going to do is just show you the basics of creating your own template, and then you can be as creative as you want, or you can just use an existing template. The key thing about PowerPoint templates is that they're designed for regular presentations. They're not designed for presentations with a talking head. And so what we want to do is create a version of a template that is actually suitable for a talking head video. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a new file of just a blank presentation. And then I am going to go into the View menu, and I am going to go to the Slide Master. Now, in the interest of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of a lot of the different styles that I don't think that I will necessarily use. This is a pretty standard style. This is a standard style. I'll keep this one. I'll keep this one, and then I'll just get rid of some of the rest of these. And you can copy styles, you can do pretty much anything with your master slides that you can do with any other slide. Since I'm really interested in sort of Camtasia types of presentations here, I'm going to get rid of, well, I shouldn't have to remember where I am. I'll go up to the master slide and I will get rid of all of these headers and footers. They mainly appear when presentations are printed, and I don't want to bother making room for them. Okay, now the next thing that I will do is this is sort of the standard bullet point slide, and what I think I will do here is first off I'll add a background color. So if I click on background styles and click on format background, it opens this up, and I think that for the background color here I will use sort of a gold. Now that looks a little bit bright and garish, but what I'm now going to do is I'm going to add a text box to it. So what I'll do is, well, actually just I'll add a regular rectangle, and then I'll figure out about how much space I want for it. Okay, now I have this, and I'm just being, and notice how it's changed on every slide. What I will now do is I will have a solid fill. I'll make it a white fill. And then what I will do is for the lines, I'll create a solid line, and this time I think I'm a little off the side of the screen here, but I'll choose a green, just sort of like the USF colors. Now you'll notice there's not a lot of room here. What I'll do is maybe let's try this, maybe a 12 point, give it some breadth. This is a little bit like recreating what I already had. Okay, so we come here. What I'll do is I have to get it right on the edges, I need to have it a little bit bigger. Oops, and then it went to the other slide. And you have to be careful that you don't do that. I've done that a bunch of times. Okay, so we click there. We move it up so it's exactly on the edge of the slide. Come over here, Move that over to the edge of the slide. Good. We come over here. Make sure we're right on the edge of the slide there. Good. All right. Move up. Okay. Now I'll move this to the back. So if I go to Home, Arrange, Send to Back, now I have the text styles there. Now what I'm going to do is I'll shrink the slide down a little bit more so I can see it. I'm going to move this thing up. Maybe make it a little smaller. I don't need all that room for the title. Notice I'm putting the title on top on this one. And then what I will do for this title is I will create a solid fill. Once again, I'm using a lot of white here just because that makes it nice and clear in the recording. We'll have a solid, we won't actually even bother with a line here. Then what we can do is we can bring, oops. Okay, so now we can, oops. Bring that down. Normally I might actually use like the rulers to actually get exact measurements, but I'm just trying to give you an idea here. Okay, that's about the same. When you need to do a little bit more adjusting, you can make it a little bigger, and then you can, actually that looks like a pretty good fit. Okay, then over on this side, maybe I'll leave some room for something like a photo, which I could, like as I did in the other slide that I had. You don't have to do that. You can make it go all the way across. Then maybe I'll edit the master title style. We'll go to font. Maybe this time what I'll do is I'll actually choose something like this. Go over and maybe make it 60. I don't like that light font. Why don't we choose some font that's a little bit heavier? That one actually was a little bit too big, so we'll do that. Okay, now we'll come back out, take a look. What I did is I used word art there. So now that I've changed this, maybe I can give a little bit more room for something on the side. Oops, I didn't. Here, I'll undo that. And then just give a little more room over there. Then what I can do, if you take a look on these other slides, what we can do is maybe get rid of those, bring down the subtitle a little bit, bring down the master slide. But you see, I don't like the big yellow block there, so if I want to deal with that, what I can do is I can come back here, do a Control C to get a copy of that other thing, and then a Control D. Oops, I copied the whole slide. That was a mistake. All right, so we come over here, Control C, come over here, Control V. Okay, then what I can do is I can move this thing up to the top. Got to expand a little bit. Oops, took it up one. Ooh, this sucker really doesn't want to. We'll just make it a little bigger. Bring that up to the top. Send it to the rest. Send it to the back. Now, if we take a look at that slide, what we have is something that could be used as a very reasonable subtitle. I don't want to do a lot more of these, so I'm going to pull that one, get rid of that one. Over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make room for a box. Since I'm not using the headers and footers, I'll move this thing up a little bit. Move this thing down like this, come over here, and then I'll insert a box. And then on this thing, what I want to do is I want to have it the same dimensions, which are like 4 by 3. So what I'm going to just try is 4 by 3, because that's about the right dimensions for a video. I'll move this thing over, use the center line to get it centered. Move this thing, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, then what I can do is just make this a white background. But this way I can tell where to put the video when I'm doing a recording of that type. And then maybe I'll do one to swap the video. So I'll do a Control D to copy this slide. So now I have a second copy. And what I'll do with that Control D is I'll just move this thing over to this side. And then this one over to this side. That just gives me a little bit of variety. Let's see. I don't really need that slide. I don't actually need to use that slide. We'll create a slide here that is just plain art. So Control C, come over here, get rid of this stuff. Control V to paste another copy of that. Then we'll drag this thing up to the top. So I'm going to expand it a little bit because it's because the PowerPoint tends to lock things. So this gives me an empty slide where I can put anything without expecting to use graphics. These give me some slides that I can put graphics on either side. On all of them, we've got that top corner that I can use for a very small image. And this one I could use with a title and I could use that one with a title without anything. And if I wanted to, I could then come up here and center this, and then it becomes centered in all the other ones. So this is a reasonable set of styles that I could then use. I'd probably develop more as I went along. Now that I have these, what I can then do is I can do a save as, and I'll just put it in my folder here. And instead of saving as a PowerPoint, I'll save it as a PowerPoint template. And notice it moves the location to a place where you store templates, and we'll just call this my demo template. And with this little template, it would be very easy to create video content of various types without a lot of fluff associated with it. So that is PowerPoint templates. So now that I've created a template, so what? Well, if I now open PowerPoint, you'll see that template here. Also, if I go over to Personal, I should see it. And if I open a presentation with this template, and create a new presentation, now what you see is I've got the template. So this is a demo presentation. Then say I want to add a new slide. I should see all the different slides that I created here. So I can do a title and content slide. And I don't have to do any thinking. I've got my space where I'll put the video when everything is finished. I will have, the place to put the title. If I want just a empty slide that I can do anything with, such as a whiteboard. I can do this, and it removes a lot of the thought associated with creating your presentations. Okay, my final PowerPoint topic is going to be animations, and animations is a huge potential topic. And in the past, I've been kind of anti-animation because it takes up a lot of time to do very sophisticated stuff. But when I'm doing recordings with a PowerPoint template of the type that I have been doing, then I think that sometimes it makes sense. So I'm just going to take you through a very, very simple animation, and then we'll leave it at that. If you want to do more, then you can certainly use this. So what I'm going to do is animate it so that these particular items come up one at a time when I'm presenting. So every time I hit enter, it goes one at a time. So we have a whole choice of animations that we can use. I've selected this whole block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a fly-in animation so you can see how they fly in. And then I'm going to look at effect options, and you'll notice I've got it done by paragraph. Now, if I had it as one object, it would all come in like this. But when you do it by paragraph, it comes in one at a time, and that's just a demonstration. When you actually do it as a presentation, you'll be able to click it. And if I decided I wanted to center the thing, I could come over here let's see, I click on this, go over to I guess it's not in the format, I guess it's over here. You align text to the middle. And then if we come back to animations, and if we do a preview, it now goes up to the middle. And you can animate any object on the screen. These numbers here signify the actual order of the animation. This is an on-click animation, so it's based on click, but you can also set it based upon things like timing, and you can also go in and there's an animation pane. You can reorder the animations such that they come in a different rate of presence, and it's actually you can develop animations that go along particular paths. So there's a whole lot that you can do with this. I'll open the animation pane. This shows where all the different animations are. If I reorder them here, like if I drag this one, or it may not let me drag up the paragraph animations, but I can, if I drag them, one of the things I can do is change the ordering. And you can have all sorts of objects and so forth that are animated. And as I say, when you're doing a regular presentation, I usually don't bother. But when you're doing a presentation and recording it with Camtasia, it's nice to be able to have your mouse on the next slide and just be able to click and have things happen. So that's all I'm going to say about animations.